Welcome back to Real Roots Radio. I am so excited to welcome my old friend Hannah Ellis to Real Roots Radio today. How are you doing, Hannah?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Hannah, you and I attended Cedarville University together, went to Waffle House many times, and got into all sorts of fun and frivolity. But
Yeah.
now you have grown, married a fellow CU alum, have a beautiful family in Cincinnati, and now you're a published author, which is
Here
so
we are.
exciting.
We've come full circle from our Waffle House days.
Awesome. Um, Hannah, your dad pitched for the Milwaukee Brewers for 11-year MLB career, Bill
Mhm.
Wegman. What was it like growing up as the daughter of a Major League Baseball pitcher?
Oh man. Well, so for the majority of his career, I was still pretty young. So, I like to, go to the kids area and didn't get to see a lot of his playing. And so if I could go back, I wish I could go back and see him play just one more time, which I would love to see him again. But I respect him so much. I think I don't really think of him as a pro baseball player. Obviously, he's my dad, but what sticks out in my head is just the man of God that he is. And so, I wanted to write down his story. I realized I was sharing his story with so many people and bringing hope and healing to people through his story. And I'm like, man, I should just write this down. And so here we are.
When did the dream that your dad had of wanting to be a Major League Baseball pitcher first begin?
Yeah, I mean, I would say at age 4, he talks about it. I talk about it in the book, but he would, sleep in his uniform the night before and get up early and walk to the field before the game started. And I think that was his goal from a young age, that was his pinnacle goal in life. And so it started real young.
Real young. Who was his favorite team? Who were some of his favorite players when he was a youngster?
A good question. So he grew up in Cincinnati, so the Reds, and he was a huge Reds fan, and
The Big Red Machine, right? So
yeah,
Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, he probably grew up
yeah,
around the 75, 76 team and
yeah,
like
yeah.
all kids in the area.
Mhm.
When did he develop his love for being a pitcher?
Most of his life, he was actually a shortstop. So when he was drafted for the MLB, they brought him to his first practice, and he said, "I'm your pitching coach," and he was like, "Wait a second." So, needless to say, my dad, he's just good at a lot of things. And so, his conversations with colleges and sports teams are much different than my college conversations. He was good at so many different sports, so many different positions that he's pretty, interchangeable when it comes to sports teams. So
That's remarkable. That's
mhm. Yeah.
now the book is called The Bottom at the Top.
Mhm.
Obviously a play on, inning vernacular, but when he achieved his goal of making it to the major leagues, that you would think that would be the top. So why is the book called The Bottom at the Top?
I'm glad you asked. So, for my dad, this was his goal since being a child. He thought once he made it to the major leagues, if he made it to the major leagues, that would satisfy his soul. He'd finally um, be enough he'd accomplish his goal. And when he got there, he realized his soul wasn't satisfied. And so what actually happens, I'm giving away the book here, but was my mom, she met Jesus Christ, and he realized that everything she was experiencing, that hope, that joy, that peace, that freedom, he wasn't experiencing. And he's like, I have everything, I'm at the top of my game. People know of me, but he wasn't fully known. He hadn't met the one that would change his life. And uh, basically, he was at the top of his game, but he realized he was actually at rock bottom.
Wow. That's why do you think that's a story that so many people can relate to when it comes to having a dream or a goal and thinking that will satisfy your life or that you'll find fulfillment in that and then coming up short?
Yeah, I mean, I feel it even as a mom, and it doesn't matter where you are in life, there's like a rat race, we're always looking to the next thing to fulfill us. And what we realize when we accomplish those different goals is that we're still not satisfied. And, that's an exhausting way to live. And so talking with my friends and family, the Lord put this on my heart to write because, I want people, yes, to accomplish your goals, to just shoot for the big leagues. But I also want you to recognize, like, that's not going to satisfy your soul. The only thing that will satisfy your soul is Jesus. And I tell that from my dad's perspective. And then as I was writing, I realized that the Lord wanted me to share my story at the end of how he changed my life. So
why don't you share some of your story with us as well? We've talked about your dad. Let's talk about you. What's your story?
Yeah. Well, I've been a believer for many years in Jesus. And for a lot of years, I had like a head knowledge of the truth, and for some reason, I still didn't feel completely free. And it's so interesting. As I'm writing this book, the Lord has perfect timing because He changed my life, and I've experienced Him in ways that I've never thought possible. I'm experiencing that freedom and that joy and that peace that only comes from Him, and I think I had two goals in writing this book. So the first goal was that I want people to internalize the idea that they are unconditionally loved, whether they're at the top or the bottom. It's not based on what you do or don't do. It's based on who loves you, and like that concept changes everything. That whether I failed today or whether I'm a Major League Baseball player who's getting cheered on by thousands of fans, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because my soul is settled. I am loved at my core. And so sorry, I'm just going on and on here, but my second goal for the book was to give people hope. I needed to hear from someone that change was possible. I think sometimes we get into a thinking that we're never going to change. This is the way we are. It's always going to be this way. But we need to hear from people that change is possible. But it's only done through Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and not in us. And so that's what I had to learn these last couple of years as I wrote the book. And so the Lord told me to put that into the book to hopefully bring hope and healing to other people. So
what were some of the biggest challenges in adapting your dad's story and testimony and your testimony into a book? I know that you've had a varied career as a speaker and involved with many different Christian organizations. You said that you had used your dad's testimony as kind of an object lesson throughout the years. But when it comes to trying to turn it into an actual book, what were some of the biggest challenges and obstacles?
Oh man. So when I started, I had this idea and this dream, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I've written other things before, but never a book. And I didn't realize the extensive work and time that it was going to be. My goal was to be done before I had my third child. He is now 1.5, and I just published it. So you can, it took me a couple more years than I thought. So but it was good. It was a very refining process. I had to learn a lot of new things. And I think the biggest challenge was probably staying focused when nobody besides the Lord was telling me to do this, and just listening to Him. And once I started, like the first chapter, I remember I started finally getting words to the page, and I read it to my husband, Steve. And when I finished, I was like, man, we both were like, this is so bad. so I'm not getting down on myself, but also just seeing like it's going to take longer to formulate exactly what the Lord wants me to say. And once I brought Him into the process, it was a game changer. So all of this was Him and not myself. Because if I would have done it in my own strength, it would not have been as successful as you see it. So
we're laughing a lot, and not only is the book heartfelt, but you said there's some humor involved as well. There's baseball, there's the Lord, so it's got a little bit of everything. What's some of the comic relief that's in the book?
Oh man. Well, my dad's kind of a goofball. So I think like that's arguably some of the most fun parts of the book is to hear some of his stories from the major leagues. So I start out the book. He talks about how they just always played pranks on each other. And so he had another player. He fell asleep in the clubhouse one time, my dad did, and the guy came over and lit his shoes on fire. So when he woke up, he woke up and his shoes are like in flames and nobody was fessing up to it. So he of course like jumped up and whatever. So they get out on the field like on another time, another game, and his buddy calls him from the bullpen and he says, hey, check it out. And he's out there and he's, fanning the flame on his feet, making fun of him for, burning his shoes. And so my dad, he went up to the top of where he could see him from the bullpen, and he lit the other guy's shoes on fire, and he proceeded to roast marshmallows on his shoes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he had some really good stories. And so I tried to make it a good mix of, laughter, but also the real stuff, the pain he went through. Because we've all experienced the hard stuff. And so I tried to kind of balance both of them, and hopefully you guys get a good laugh out of some of his stories. So
I know that, you were familiar with your dad's story and testimony, his career. But in going through the process of interviewing your father for a project this daunting, a book, how did that strengthen your guys' connection and your relationship?
Oh man, so my dad, he'll still tell you he still feels a little weird about it. He's like, man, it's weird reading a book about my own life, and I think that goes to say just how humble he is and the man that he is. He doesn't want the focus to be on him, but when I told him I was going to talk about Jesus, he's like, all right, let's do it. And so so yeah, and I think it was just really cool we probably honestly should all write down some of our family history, because there's a lot of things I learned about him that I didn't know, and it's just some really cool stories of God's faithfulness throughout his life. So
the book's called The Bottom at the Top, written by Hannah
Mm-hmm.
Ellis, and congratulations, it is one of the top selling baseball books on Amazon right now, which is got to be so exciting.
It is, yeah, really unexpected, and I'm really grateful. So thank you to all those who are buying it and getting excited about it.
It'd make a great Father's Day gift. Where can folks go to learn more about the book, the story, and to purchase a copy?
Yeah, so you can go straight to Amazon. It's The Bottom at the Top by Hannah Ellis. And then there's a website you can also head to. It's the bottom at the top.godaddysites.com. So yeah, check it out. Appreciate it.
Find it on Amazon or the bottom at the top.godaddysites.com. You also have an Instagram page as well. Folks can check out The Bottom at the Top.
Yep. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Hannah, thanks for joining us on the air today. I'm so grateful, and you have a great week, and best of luck with the book. That's really exciting.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.